Hi, I'm Pete and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. It's been raining the past 2 or 3 days and more rain is coming for the next 4 days, and that poses a real conundrum for Hillary and I. Well, scratching post gets a lot of use. The cattle have just been raising a fuss for the past couple days. Hi, Ginger. Hi, Coco. Yes, I know you guys are not happy. Looks to me like they would like to lodge their complaints in person. I am not a scratching post. The grass in the pasture is looking great. It's, 8 inches to a foot tall at the most, and if that were the only consideration, I would have turned them out onto it a few days ago. But I have to finish going around and fixing fence, which is, I don't know, most part of a day's work here and there, and do all the other preparations. And with 4 days of rain coming and the ground as wet as it is, I think I'd rather wait until after this rainy spell. They're certainly going to have plenty to eat though after all that rain comes and the grass shoots up. You guys are going to have to wait. We'll feed you bales one more time and then put you out next week. Yeah, I know, Patty, it's not the best thing. In other farm updates, 1, 2. 1 week old. 1 day old. This guy's conked out. When they're little, they tend to just fall on their face when they want to sleep. Hillary and I started the first greens in the garden. These we planted as seedlings, just lettuce. And then over there I have seeded arugula and mustard. It's okay for greens to go in now. We won't be planting warm season vegetables for about a month. Apple trees got a hard pruning because I didn't prune them last year. That job's done. Check. Better late than never. And this is the field I seeded 1 week ago. You might see a little blush of green out in the field. That's weeds. So I don't know, weather doesn't always cooperate. Hillary and I debated most of yesterday and this morning what to do. I like to have a nice outside Sunday video with a lot of variety, but it's just not in the cards. So I'm going to do something that I think is very exciting, and I'm going to get this tractor running. Just a kind of an alpha test. I'm missing a lot of parts, but we'll get her started up. There's a process to that. I guess the first thing is I want to go over all the wiring and make sure these go to the left and right. Cowl-mounted headlamps, so I don't need those. I'll leave those. Make sure that I have everything connected. I don't have anything important hanging loose. This is quite a rat's nest in here, but everything looks like it's set to go. Alternator wiring, check. Starter solenoid wiring, gotta tighten that up. Oh, let's see here. Got that. Battery cable. My memory is the battery cable always goes on last on this post, but my memory could be wrong. Don't know if it matters anyway. Regulator and voltage resistor wiring. Check. This is a tired old ground strap for the batteries that I'm hooking directly to the starter base. I'm going to replace it when I get my hands on a new one. Cleaned up the connections even though the cable's tired. This tractor takes two 6-volt batteries. So negative ground goes on the negative post of this battery. And the positive post of the battery gets hooked to this cable. On the other side, the cable from the starter solenoid goes onto the positive side of this battery. And the cable that comes from the positive side of the battery on the other side goes to the negative on this battery, so they're connected in series and make 12 volts out of two 6-volt batteries. I'll climb up here. I don't have a platform yet. Key on. Dump valve light comes on. Oil and amp lights are on, which they should be. Dash light comes on. So power's working. Give the starter a bump. Oh, safety switch. Right here. These wires that are sitting down here, one goes to the rear light harness. This one is for the clutch safety switch, which means you have to have the clutch depressed before the starter will engage. There's just a switch on the clutch arm, but I haven't got that installed yet, so we'll just jump right here. Now what do we got? Yep. Good. I don't like this funnel. I'm going to do something different. This is engine oil, 11 quarts. Overfull, but that's fine. It's got to fill up the filters. We'll have to check it after it runs a little bit. Engine coolant, 6 gallons. Full strength coolant mixed with distilled water instead of the pre-mixed stuff. I alternate it by the half gallon to make sure it's all mixed together. No leaks yet. Oh, that burped it. Hytran, hydraulic transmission fluid. I'm going to rig up a vent for my funnel here. I know I should put something on the funnel to do that that's permanent, but I just never have time to do those sorts of things, seems like. This tractor takes 22 gallons of Hytran, not 22 quarts, 22 gallons, approximately. And that 22 gallons is rushing around all over the place when the tractor's running. Remember, you got a 9 gallon per minute pump at the MCV, a 12 gallon per minute pump for the remote hydraulics and the 3-point hitch, plus the PTO pump. So it doesn't stay put in any one place for very long, unlike, say, an old M or H or A or that era of tractors. There's no harm in running these over full. There's the full line. It's up to there. It's still got to fill the oil cooler, all the oil lines, so it'll come down a little bit, or a lot. I almost forgot about this. Oh, get grease on my new tractor oil. I wanted to put these old couplings on just in case the spool valves leak at all. I haven't fixed the hydraulic levers yet, so we're not going to try using it at all. Diesel fuel. Huh, I guess I left the bleeders open on the fuel system. primary filter. Fuel filters are bled of air. This is the inlet to the injection pump. Fuel supply comes down here. I'm going to bleed the air out of here too. Why aren't you running? Just looking for any leaks. Really, it would just be this inlet line so far. This is going to be my emergency shutdown. If something's wrong with the pump, goes wrong, and the engine runs away. On the air intake. This is hopefully how I'll prime the MCV. I'm not going to crack the injectors yet. Maybe I won't need to crack the injectors. I want it to spin over on the starter a bit to prime up the oil system, because remember I had that side apart before it starts running, so we're going to give it some time to do that. I got kind of a seat here on the hydraulics. Park lock is engaged. I'm going to leave that on a kill setting here. Actually, we want it to pump. It'd be nice if I took this off. We got any leaks over here? Not yet. Wowie. I'm going to crack a couple injectors and see what we got. You watch and I'll crank. Nothing yet. Here's where it starts running through most anybody's mind. Is it timed correctly? I took everything apart. Did I put it all back together right? How come it didn't start right up? Hopefully it's just a fuel issue. Getting the air out. Crank her again. Oh, no fuel. No fuel. You here. Nope. We have fuel coming out the exhaust. That's gray smoke. White smoke. And you have fuel coming out of the injectors. At least that one. Oh, what a relief that is. It's a little smoky in here. I gotta tighten these injectors back down. What I want to do is make sure that the MCV gets primed. And besides the loop circuit on the MCV, which goes up to the oil cooler, we'll have to look at that. The other circuit's the 3 gallons per minute that first goes through the steering and then can go to the brakes and the TA. So I want to make sure I prime the steering. Not a big deal. The gauge was working before I took it apart. Turns fine. Both ends turn. I don't know. I'll have to look into that later. I'm more interested to see if this leaked anywhere, this whole mess out here, with all of its funky O-rings and such. Geez, I don't see anything, but I haven't run it that long yet, so I guess we'll find out. They're definitely full of oil. They sounded tinny when they were empty. Charging. Check for leaks at the oil cooler here. I don't see any. It's been raining off and on outside this afternoon. I think what I'd like to do is be able to pull it outside tomorrow morning. Hopefully it won't be raining and I can run it longer without getting smoked out. The morning after I first start a rebuild project, I don't look at the tractor. I look at the floor for spots. Unfortunately, I don't see any except for This one right here, that's the floor drain there. Sniff test says diesel fuel. It's right there. This is just this fitting. It's not up in here, or else it would be dripping from down below here. It's this fitting. Guess I'll just have to keep an eye on that. Today's actually worse. It's colder outside. It's been drizzling and foggy all day, so nix that plan. In order to bring this outside, I have to hook the tractor to it and pull it out. So it's quite a deal. It's not like I can just drive it out and back it in. I remembered last night that I've run into this issue with these tack cables before. This is the old cable I'm putting in. Here's the other end of it. Fuel gauge works. I put 5 more gallons in the tank to bring it far enough above empty. I want to bump the starter and see if this moves. No, it should move. I know that the problem's not up here because when I plug into the back of the gauge and spin it, the gauge moves. So it's got to be down at the bottom of that drive end. Loosen this Allen screw and then you can rotate the drive to whatever angle you want, and I can get a look down in there. All I see is roundness down in there, no squareness. I had this apart during rebuilding because there was an O-ring that was leaking pretty bad in here. What I've experienced before is of course there's a mating gear, there's a worm gear in here that mates to this, and you get wear on here and then it doesn't spin anymore. But this one is good. Teeth are fine. The problem is that any squareness is worn out of that hole. It just turns and turns in there. This is not worn, but this is. I'm pleased with how the tractor did for its first startup. I haven't seen any leaks here where I expected to see a whole bunch of leaks and all this oil piping and coolant and things out here. But you don't really know until you can run the tractor for an extended period of time, get the oil nice and warm, both the engine oil and the transmission oil, and then as it gets thinner, that's when you'll see the leaks. So I expect that I will have a few. There always is. I just fussed with this tachometer cable because I can't pull the tractor outside. The next thing I need to do is get a nice day, pull the tractor outside with another tractor and get it all nice and warm and test the pressures on the multiple control valve here, the MCV, just like I did on 756 after I rebuilt the MCV. I need to report those for the torque amplifier warranty, and I need to look at them for my own peace of mind. And I'll probably put an oil pressure gauge on the engine too and see how the oil pressure is when it gets hot. Other than that, no big issues. It lopes a little bit when it's being started, and I'd never heard that before because it always popped right off when I hit the starter button before I tore it down. I don't think it's a big deal. Usually it's an indicator of a little bit different compression, you know, in one or more cylinders versus the others, but the tractor runs strong. It runs the way it should as far as I can tell, so I'm not too worried about that. I got a whole lot of work left to do on this tractor. A lot of slow work, sheet metal, filling old holes, dents, rust, PTO linkage, rebuild the seat, the platform. So there's a long way to go, but it's nice to hit this milestone. I hope you enjoyed this video. First startups are always fun. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.